Welcome back to another Cricket Spine Show interview. I'm here, Dr. Tony, with Dr. Mark Sherwood. He has been a lifetime athlete. He's now a functional medicine practitioner. We want to talk about the faults of seeking health through your healthcare insurance company program, especially here in Southern California, where I live. He's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's almost sometimes not only nationwide, but worldwide, how much it's kind of let us down as individuals sometimes. So Dr. Mark Sherwood and his wife have been training for decades and living healthy lives themselves. Their company, the Functional Medical Institute, will give the true scientific testing and imaging and education to help you get the health you deserve naturally and now. So, Dr. Mark Sherwood, in your background, Tulsa law enforcement, being a state bodybuilding champion, and also the power team, I looked at that as pretty cool with the faith-based too. How did it lead you into healthcare as a naturopathic doctor?
Great question, man.
Yeah, it's a loaded question, I understand. So take your time.
Yeah, it's a big one because it seems to not relate at all. But in a 30,000 foot view, it relates very well. So in all those times where I was on the power team and in the police department, the SWAT team, I was eventually transferred to the police academy. And during that time, I was tasked with developing a wellness program, which didn't exist at the time. So I did my research and I found out that law enforcement officers that retired after 20 years died at 66 years of age. And I thought, that's not okay. And I found that the study I researched and looked at was 50 years prior. So I did my own research, and 50 years later, it hadn't changed. So that really got me going and studying, like, what could we do different? And so developed a wellness program and took every course I had, went back and took some college courses as well, just to try to get back into the flow of going to school and learning so I could apply it in that realm. But much like Forrest Gump, who kept on running, I just kept on studying. And I kept on studying, and I realized that my duty to protect and serve was really meant to be beyond my own police department. So the mission is the same. I guess its application is different, but it's broadened the mission quite a bit.
And then going into it, to explain what is the power team? I looked it up, but it was something I didn't realize what it was. So explain that to us, please.
Yeah. Way back when, probably going back 25 years ago, I was on with the team for 12 years. It was a bunch of strong guys that would do a bunch of incredible feats of strength with things such as running through big walls of ice, breaking walls of concrete and ice with our heads, and bending steel bars in our teeth, and blowing up hot water bottles, and doing all kinds of crazy things. And it was all designed to get people's attention under the guise of an evangelical message. So, we kind of had this mindset, God takes the foolish things of the world, and some people would think those are very foolish, to confound the wise. And Dr. Tony, it was great. I mean, we were on every stage across the country and across the world. We're on a weekly television show, and we would pack out arenas for 5,000 people plus 5 nights in a row everywhere. And it was fascinating. And I learned so much during those times about, how to really relate to people. And that was really something that stuck with me. If you can get their attention, you can get their heart.
It's amazing how much people you can influence in that type of, I want to say, atmosphere. And obviously you still have that energy level that you can still remember and still have in your own practice now. And going into your previous, your post, I guess, career doing that, how do you become a naturopathic doctor, and how is it different than actually other type of healthcare practitioners?
Well, when I started thinking about it, I thought healthcare is failing people. I used to, back to my police department days, I saw the men and women that I'd served with. Every one of them was on blood pressure medications, on diabetic medications, antidepressants, sleep meds, and it was on and on and on. Reflux meds, and it just never stopped. And I thought to myself, something is wrong. They're not getting any better. They're getting more medical.
Not getting better. That's the biggest. If it worked, great. But if it's not working, what are you doing?
Yeah, and I'm like, if in law enforcement, if you're doing some proactive enforcement and it's not working, you change tactics, In my SWAT team days, if you have a plan and that plan doesn't work, you got to change tactics. You got to do it immediately, because you don't continue to do it, because that's the definition of foolishness and or insanity, as Einstein once told us. But I thought there's got to be a better way. So it kind of hit me one day that the symptoms we're experiencing that we're being prescribed drugs for we're not remediating the symptoms at all. We're just covering and bandaging them up. And so I went on the mission to figure out what's causing the symptoms, which led me into the concept of naturopathy. And traditional naturopathy is like, what are the symptoms, what causes them, what's the root cause, let's fix it, so the symptoms go away and the medication usage, or even the idea of that, becomes less relevant.
It's all at base. It's really with chiropractic. Same thing when I do. It's almost like find the root cause,
Right.
fix that, not the symptoms, which are the alarm system out here. At that point, you actually get someone to get their better quality of life back, their health back, and hopefully maintain that. Oh,
Yeah, and they get their hope back too, because if you're
mental.
focused
Yeah.
on symptoms,
Yes.
man, I mean, it just goes on and on and on, and people's life becomes the symptoms. That life becomes a diagnosis, and I watch too many people walk around and say things like, I have type 2 diabetes, I am diabetic, or I am autoimmune, I have autoimmune. I'm like, stop it, man. Let's do something differently, turn this thing around.
And how did you progress from that into functional medicine and now the practitioner of that?
Well, my wife, Dr. Michelle, and I, we practice together. I like to refer to my wife not as my spare rib, but my prime rib, because she's more beautiful. And
the seventh rib. Yep.
Yeah, man, she does a good job. And so she's an osteopathic doctor, or a DO. Okay. And when we started working together, we had this vision to be able to take people and give them some hope by giving them sort of this all-inclusive holistic approach. I would do the naturopathy and she would do the typical medicine, and we put them together. But we started studying together. And so that led us down the pathway of what is known as functional medicine. So we did every course we could find, every organization we could get into. Went through their programs to get certified there. And it just kind of, like one of those things, we got more interested, and then we sort of blend them all together to create our own style, which I think is unique. I mean, we're functional medicine, but I think more than anything else, it's functional healing.
It's almost, you have the medical background, the naturopathy background. You have now you have the whole spectrum of health. Either you can do medication if needed, we can do medical testing also, which is phenomenal, and then go the natural route when things improve. Depends on where someone is on their I guess, severity of their health condition.
Right. And it could be the severity of their condition, where they are in life, and how hard they want to work, and even their mindset, where they are in their readiness, I guess, because yes. Ultimately, when I look at the whole systems that we have across our country and how they failed us, Dr. Tony, it's interesting, because if we just would eat right, sleep right, move right, supplement right, perhaps, and get our minds and hearts right, we wouldn't have probably 90% of the problems we have. I really believe that the majority of our issues that we have in this country and around the world are self-created, self-induced, self-chosen. And I think there's a way to get through that. And it's truly one person at a time, one family at a time, one community at a time.
Well, and you bring something up too, where I've done a lot of interviews with functional medicine practitioners that are nurses or other fields too. It's almost like when you're in that field already, as your wife knows also, it becomes more of a spiraling down to where people just don't get better. It's almost, you're just maintaining a lower level of quality of life, but not seeing the improvement. You're actually offering something different that allows them to improve their life in a long-term and short-term sense. So they have the hope, they have the ability to go, there's something else I can do, not just go to my healthcare practitioner every time, get more meds, get more testing, and see no results.
They have recognized that, I think, now more than ever. You go back and you have this genesis of the COVID issue, and that sort of was the catalyst to perhaps giving people the ability to ask more questions. And wherever they stand or where they sit in that fence, it doesn't matter to me. I just hope people ask questions and learn, because I'm a believer in fully informed consent, which means everybody should know every angle they have for their own health. And when me as a clinician have an encounter or an engagement relationship with the client, the patient, whatever you want to call them, they're the boss. I'm not. But if I do my job right, we become partners, and they're still the lead. I'm going to support them. And in that journey, people know there's a better way, because I think they know down deep that what is happening is not working, because healthcare costs continue to spiral out of control. Healthcare is not healthcare. It's truly sick care. It doesn't pay to get well. It doesn't pay to keep you well. And certainly the doctor visits that you typically have in the primary care system, they're about maybe 7 minutes at this point now, and that is not sufficient to build that relationship. And I really believe that nothing happens good for the most part in an untrustworthy relationship, but things happen that are highly relevant and beneficial in a trustworthy relationship.
It's almost, you mentioned COVID too. It's almost since then the medical system has had an excuse while you can book your patients a month out.
Yes, I would agree with that. It's like that thing right there, in my assessment, was one of the biggest disasters and opportunities for people across this country and globe. I really believe that. And it was like our little cruise ship that was going along there was all of a sudden turned over, and we had to learn how to either swim, find a lifeboat, or find somebody who had both skills or the boat, And, we really learned a lot. And I think that now we're at a place in time where the discussion of true health has been at a level now that I have not seen in my lifetime at all, from higher levels and even media and things like that. So I'm happy about that.
It's almost people are going, no, that's not working. As a society, we want to change. And you, me, and other health practitioners that are in the natural health are the forefront of people going to now. When they pay out of pocket, they go, I don't care anymore. Just help me. They're not asking. They're not asking you what's your copay, what's your can you just see me and help me and figure out the rest later.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, man, keep your deductibles in your pocket, and if you have, like where we are, we can do the HSA or FSA, no problem. But ultimately, keep your deductibles in your pocket. Use those only when you have a catastrophic, or if you have a catastrophic occurrence, and that's it. And if people do that, I think they would find more peace in that. And I know they find more health, but health insurance is a weird deal, man, because it will kind of con you. You'll have these really slick insurance brokers and agents that come and try to pitch you on their, we'll pay for your wellness, but they're not defining wellness. We'll pay for your health, defining health. So it's kind of a scam, in my opinion. I mean, I have health insurance, but I don't call it health insurance. I call it catastrophic insurance, and that's what it is.
And I have most that deals with all that, but people come in with, I guess, naivete that they have a coverage, but it's a high deductible plan.
Yeah.
Or their copay is higher than my normal office visit.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous. Some people, when I tell them kind of the lab game, the lab game is this. They'll come in and they'll go to their PCP and they'll say, well, my labs are covered. And they'll run a lab that probably costs the lab hard cost maybe $20. And then that lab, once they get your insurance card, is like a credit card, man. It's like a gold card or a black card. They'll want to build that insurance company, whatever. They will inflate that value 15, 20, 30 times. And they hope they can get their money back or less. They'll settle too, which tells me that they're not firm in what they do. So, you might have a $20 lab that's not worth anything. It doesn't tell you anything. It just deals with symptoms. It's going to be like with gaps and holes of validity and even relevance to it. But at the same time, they might bill your insurance company $500. Insurance company turns around and says, well, I'm sorry, Dr. Tony, you haven't met your deductible. And you're like, okay, no problem. I'll spend my $500 and then in probably 6 more of those labs, I'll have my deductible met, and then you're going to take care of it. Yes.
Yeah. And then it starts over again January 1st. So then another $500. It's almost like if someone wants to get better, they have to go outside their system, like you had mentioned. And going into the Functional Medical Institute that you and Dr. Michelle run, when did you open that in Tulsa?
We opened about 15 years ago. And so we've been around for a bit. And it was interesting because when we first started, people looked at us like we were whack jobs. I mean, that's the word, is you guys are crazy. We had people look us in the eye and say, you're not going to make it. And we used to run, it's funny, we used to run about 10% of our business through insurance still. We did that for like 3 years, and we realized that we're spending 90% of our energy on 10% of the business. And the thing that broke the back, there was a straw that broke the camel's back, was when we got an insurance reimbursement check for, hold on to your hat, 10 cents. And I thought, that's it. I told my wife, that's it. As the husband, as a co-CEO, I'm drawing the line right now. We're not going to do that anymore.
My veto is right here. I'm vetoing this.
Terribly. It was terrible. I just threw my little mail card up there. That's it, man. I'm out. And so
he's like, thank you. Finally, I've been saying this forever. We can finally do this now. Great.
Yeah, this was a sign we needed from heaven right now, I think,
I think when you have a purpose and you have your why, it just takes the right, like we talked about before, to be successful, the right opportunity to get that out there so people actually see it and also experience it. That when the next person gets next. But you've been 15 years, obviously you've done well. You're not going to close your doors tomorrow. Your friends were wrong. They owe you money from whatever bet you made with them. But and what have you done so far beyond that to help people get better? What people do you see that has been? What's a common struggle you see with people that come to the Institute?
There's probably two categories of folks that we deal with primarily, maybe two and a half. I think the half, I'll start there. We have some super high level high school, college, or even professional athletes that want to stay on the field longer, get recovered. Okay, I'm good with. I kind of like that being an ex-athlete, so I like to have my hands in that pot as well. Nice. And then we have a group of people that are probably 35 to say 60 that are looking to really optimize longevity, understand about kind of a combination of biohacking, functional medicine, natural healing, and all the things they can do to make their life better and increase that thing and concept of longevity. And then we have another group of people, about the same age group for the most part, that are frustrated. They're tired. They've been through the system and they haven't got anyone to listen to them. They've got, autoimmune conditions, or they've got heart disease or brain disease, or God forbid cancer sometimes, and they have nowhere else to go, nobody to listen to, no support group, and they're looking for one last hope. Will you listen to me? And I think with that said, the greatest thing that people like ourselves can offer people is it's probably 2 years, listen more and talk less. And people sometimes just get better when they can get their story out there.
I was listening to one podcast by a chiropractor out in Vegas, I think. It talks about if doctors understood a patient, if you listen to a patient and just listen to them and let them talk, they'll talk for 92 seconds and tell you their whole story.
They will.
But when you interrupt them or want to do this and try to give them advice before they're ready, they repeat the story over and over again. That's when it takes 20, 15 minutes because they know you're not listening to them.
That's right. And they want to get heard because back to our 7-minute visit in the primary care person's office, they have to get to the next room. They have to get to the next time where they can flip their number over off the door. They have to get to the next chart. They're moving quickly. So they're going to interrupt you, shorten you. They've been trained in how to lead you down the pathways and how to cut off things and how to stop the conversation from narrative form. They want to go yes, no's, yes, no's, yes, no's. And sometimes, sadly so, the persons that come into our offices, they don't have relationships either, outside of this. And so you become almost like their counselor, their sounding board, their doctor, their healer. And it's almost like the first person that's listened to them in a while. So you become a person they trust. And that's where the healing begins, at that very moment in time when that's established.
It's amazing when you can be professional, but also personable.
Yeah.
You can look them in the eye, shake their hand, put their hand on their shoulder and go, it's going to be okay. And you can actually repeat their story to them because you listen to them. They go, and you almost see them not get emotional, but now they can understand you're here to help them.
It's fascinating. I had a guy just this morning, 78 years old, former military guy, had some brain issues and had difficulty walking, and you just looking for somebody to listen to him. And first thing I told him was, he said, "Come and tell me what's going to happen through this appointment, doc." And I said, "Well, first and foremost, I want to get to know you and I want to hear your story." And he just you could almost see an exhale right there. And I said, "So you just talk, and I'm going to ask some questions if I need clarification, but I'm going to take some notes. I'm going to listen to you. I want to hear who you are, where you want to go, and I want to hear some vision about what you want your life to look like. And then after that, I'll make sure I got it, and then we're going to get a plan to get you there post-haste."
As a practitioner, isn't it so much easier to do that, spend the 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it's going to be, then they understand you're going to help them. The next steps become so much easier. There's a lot less, I want to say, objections, maybe financial or time, whatever it might be, even the testing, because they trust you. You build trust with them.
I totally agree with that. Once they trust you and they realize that, and I don't mind telling them this, I want you to have skin in the game. I do.
Yeah.
you to get a great return on your investment. I do. I want this to be better than any stock market investment you've ever done, because the payout is great health. And that's sort of those little stories, parables, if you will, kind of gets to them. And they're like, man, yes. And I always tell them too, I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I'm not doing myself right now.
Perfect.
Nor am I going to ask you to do a test you don't need. And I'm not going to become a money pit. Won't do it. I'm not scared to talk money with you. We'll work it out. If you need it, we'll figure it out. And there's a lot of times we've worked out payment plans for people, and I don't mind a bit. Just do interest-free stuff, and we don't get ripped off with that stuff because you treat people right,
It's that old, what is it? It's just goodwill, correct?
That's right.
When you have goodwill with someone, it comes back tenfold.
Man, it does. I mean, you treat people like you want to be treated, and just, they don't have to, that's why the society today is so weird to me and bizarre. It's like all anger driven and like polarizing. I'm like, stop it. It's not. I've had people in my office that have all different walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've been on a lot of broadcasts and podcasts, and they know kind of where I stand on certain issues. But it's amazing how building the relationship and how you listen to someone, it can disarm any sort of agitation, and you can build a bridge. The commonality we all have as humans, man, is our health. And it doesn't matter who you are, white, black, male, female, Republican, Democrat. Sickness is sickness. Disease is disease. And that's something that we all have to fight together.
It's very, and when you're compassionate, empathetic, and you can help someone that way, and they can let their guard down, you're in your heart, doing the right thing for them genuinely. It's like, this is why we do it, right?
Exactly. And there's satisfaction in that. But the heart. To me, it's harder to be sick. It's much harder to be sick than it is being well. And it's much more expensive to be sick than it is well. A typical night in the hospital, which is not even good food, poor service, no colors, no drapes, no bar you can go to and get a glass of wine. I'm just being funny with that.
Yeah.
But that's going to cost you more than $5,000 per night. And I'm like, why wouldn't you rather spend a night in the Ritz-Carlton? And I can teach you how to do that. And they're like, well, I want Ritz-Carlton. And I say, well, Ritz-Carlton it is. Stay away from the hospital system, right?
Stay away from McDonald's. That's the plan.
No doubt.
Getting into it too, explain, Dr. Mark, what you're testing when someone goes, okay, I want your help. I'm looking into what you want me to do. What testing do you look into as initial patient exam or assessment?
When a person comes in, generally speaking, Dr. Tony, I'll look at them like as maybe a 500-piece jigsaw puzzle sitting on the table, disassembled. All the pieces are there. It just doesn't have the great, concept of what they really look like, what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I paint the picture from, we're going to assemble the border pieces by colors and shapes, and then we'll work on the interior later. And so I do that with kind of three concepts with most people. Number one, I want comprehensive blood work. I want to know what's happening right now. To me, that's a downstream foundational piece. And I want to be very comprehensive of that. I don't want the general old stuff that it's ran through the system, but I want to look at deep markers of inflammation. I want to look at comprehensive thyroid, comprehensive hormones, comprehensive metabolic panel, complete blood chemistry. I want to look at the inflammation markers, vitamin D, omega-3s, and I want to just really be very complete with that. And then secondly, that's downstream. Secondly, I want to go far upstream. And far upstream to me is our genetics. We can't change those things. They've changed 2% in 10,000 years, and I have to shift them from the idea that genes are bad. They're not bad. They're good. We just need to know how to orchestrate the environmental changes to create a known expression, which makes us really become more disease resilient. So I do the genetics up here as well, and I want to know how I can give them insights into, better performance and longevity as well. And then over the top, sort of my mountaintop experience is I want to look at all of their inflammation markers as far as it relates to their immune system. So I kind of call that my inflammaging test. The test I use that's looking at the science of glycobiology, or the structures of these glycans on our IgG proteins. So when I can see that, we can quantify that with an age or a biological age of their immune system, which gives them concepts of how to gamify this thing. So, my markers come back, and let's say, I am 60 and they come back at 80. Well, I got some work to do, and I want
Yeah.
that thing being reversed to 50 to 40. And it's not unusual for us to see that marker section test reduce 30 or 40 years their chronological age. So that's where I start, and most people can kind of get their arms around that.
Once you do the DNA test and inflammation test, also and blood work, what are the common, I want to say, health conditions you see that kind of pop out at you more commonly for most of your patients?
Well, I think with the blood work, what I see most commonly is they're all generally inefficient or deficient in D. They're all the time deficient in omega-3 fatty acids. A lot of them have aspects of insulin resistance that they don't know about because the hemoglobin A1C is a little deceptive. So we do usually run a HOMA-IR or an insulin resistance score of some sort and find that there's all subclinical insulin resistance. That's very common. If they're males get into their 40s or so, typically we find some markers of vascular inflammation like OXLDL or LPPLA2 markers that are out. Sometimes we see vascular stiffness. Usually they get into the 40s as well. We see on the ladies signs of perimenopause where their progesterone starts to go down and testosterone starts to go down and their estradiol stays up. And men, sadly, you're seeing lower testosterone values these days than I've ever seen before. With genetics, a lot of times I spend with them as unwinding the concept of this idea of predisposition. That drives me up the wall. And they say that, and I'm like, no. If you say that, that means you're born with the unchangeable aspects of getting this thing. And like type 2 diabetes is like completely avoidable. It should not exist in planet Earth, so I have to do that. And with the inflammation test that look at their immune system's age or performance, most of the times I hear this statement, well, I thought I was pretty healthy, and so most times I do that. People's biological age in that area is greater than their chronological age. And that's quite an eye opener because that starts talking about the ideas of mortality.
It's amazing when I want to say mostly guys who were Neanderthals sometimes, they'll see a doctor when their chest pain has been there for about a week. Maybe it's time, or they're peeing blood or something like that for a couple weeks.
That's typical guys, man. We're like, put it off until it's too late. We're not proactive. I suppose ladies are more proactive in their health. In our practice, probably 70% are ladies, I'd say, and it's fascinating.
Mine is opposite, but the women I think come in earlier because they're doc. It's been 2 days. I'm like, perfect. Come in now before people come in like 3 months later. I'm like, you are very, very optimistic. It's gonna be better on its own. You're very optimistic. Like it's when you train someone, a patient. This is I think down the line too, to take care of their health. Then they actually see their standard of health being good. They want to maintain that. They spent the money, time, energy. When they pay, they want to make sure they pay attention.
That's right. If somebody spends, a couple $1,000 on something, if you bought something from the store, you spent that much on, you'd sure want to get your use out of it. If it wasn't right, you're gonna bring it back if you get it right. But you're going to get your money's worth out of that.
Yes.
And that's where health insurance / sick insurance doesn't do anything because you don't see that. You don't feel that. You don't see the credit card being charged. You don't see the cash coming out of your pocket. And that hurts people. And because you don't see it, you don't feel it. And therefore it means less to you. You just take it and leave it. And so that system will never work. I mean, it just won't work on its current state. And I don't see it changing because it's got such a big lobbying power out there within our government system.
Well, if someone wants to get better and better health, I go spend a lot of money on either a trainer or a dietitian or something else. Because when you do that, you're going to actually pay attention to that. It's going to hurt your pocketbook. You're going to show up to the workout. You're going to do the work. You're going to do the diet plan because you spent that money.
Oh yeah, if you buy 10 training sessions, you're going to show up. Because like I'm going to show up, even if I show up limping because I paid for it. And even with that, we'll sometimes talk to them about that whole deal. I do want you to pay. They're like, what? Yeah, I do want you to pay. I want it to hurt a little bit.
Yes.
Because I want it to mean something to you. And Then when you explain it in love and kindness, and trying to build a bridge, they get that.
They go, they're gonna get their money's worth because you're genuine. You want to help them.
I do.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
Yeah.
And when folks start this journey with you of recovery, how do you help change? We talked a little bit about their mindset, their lifestyle. How do you start that process with a new patient, new client?
I teach them not to focus on what's wrong, what's right.
Good.
They come in and they'll start running about, can you find out what's wrong with me? And I'm like, hold on a minute. I'll work on finding, I start rephrasing it immediately. I'll work on finding areas that are not functioning well, or maybe not functioning optimally. But first, let's sort out what's working well and let's make it work better. Mm-hmm. And that's a shift for them. We don't let them come in and say, I have anything other than I have great life, So we start the mindset that way with what they say, and what you say does many times create reality. We know that. It's not like completely, being optimistic and ignoring stuff. No, it's not it at all. But we understand our words are powerful. And then we work into the point of vision. I want them to be able to see it, man. I mean, I got this little wristband I wear, I give them away. One's this hope dealer on it, and
nice.
Load up with 2 and I'll give them away as I feel like it. But ultimately, if you give them some hope, that means they had vision to see something out there that could be. And if you can keep the could be out there, or maybe the slight possibility, or maybe the real possibility, that keeps them coming back. And it keeps them coming back, trying for and striving for more.
And it's almost when you see someone light up like that, hey, this someone's actually looking to give me hope and help me. You see that light bulb turn on, then you see them start changing, I think, their attitude and acting differently, so then they can get the results they want.
They do. When you get that light bulb moment and come on, they start working hard. They start seeing the benefit of possibilities. Mm-hmm. And possibilities are endless, I think, in this area and space. When you start talking about what you could do, what you might do, man, let's make this might be possible. When you start shifting that way, their whole demeanor changes. And it's not just in your office, man. I'm talking about their whole demeanor changes in their relationships, in their positions of job, both professional and personal. And it's a life-changing event for them.
It's almost, they'll say, almost like, for me, it's almost like the patient will say, what else can I do, doc? What exercise can I do? How should I change my diet? I'm like, I have you now. Let's take care of you now. And then they go home and go, man, I didn't sleep last night. I had so much energy. I cleaned the whole house all day long. I'm like, good. Let's not do it every day. Let's get some rest, but you're going to be okay. With your clients, patients too, Dr. Mark, how often do you check in with them, or how does your not routine go, but how do you, when you guide them, do you see them once a week, twice a week? Do you do phone calls, one-on-one coaching? How does your program work?
Yeah, it can be all those things. It's really personalized. We have, depending on where they are and what they need, I would say as a general rule, the touch points or the frequency of those contacts, and even the volume of those contacts is more voluminous, their initial stages into this community, because there's a lot to learn. I mean, all the stuff we do, it's like, even when clinicians come into it, they're like, what the heck? What are you talking about? And it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. Yeah. And like, you can't give them to them all at once. So it takes some time. No. And then over the course of time, if we do our job well, the point of contact will be less and less and less.
Perfect.
Because the teacher now has trained teachers, and those teachers train their community and their families. And that's how our business has been built over the last several years, based upon the familial, community referrals.
It's almost, when you do that, your job becomes easier, because someone comes in already having the knowledge what you do and how you're going to help them. And
when someone comes in and I know where they came from, I know the person, I know what that person told them, because I know what their acumen is. And so it's like, man, that I can take them from point A to point D a lot faster. And that's good for everybody. I don't waste the time. They don't want to waste time, man. People see us, they're business people, man, they want to get to the point.
It almost, do you get this, to get it's off the question stuff, with someone's like an accountant or a bank person or someone not in healthcare field, do they object to you giving information to help them get healthy?
There was times for that, but I've kind of learned to weave through that maze there with them. And they're so not used to the questions that we ask,
Yeah.
What do you like to do, man? You like to fish? You like to hunt? What are your dog's name? What's your mom's name? What's your family like? Tell me about what your son's majoring in. Wow, what are you doing in your job? Fascinating. That's not normal for them. And so you have to sort of break down those walls, I suppose.
It's almost making their, over time, I think, their health a priority, like their job, like their family. Because right now they're coming to you with a problem, and that's become a higher on that scale of priority. Let's keep it, for me, I try to keep it there. So even though they have to work, they take care of the family, take care of the kids, this is still a priority all the time. So over time, I'll say it takes 2-3 months sometimes. So they make that a priority all the time, unconsciously, not just when in my office.
I like that because ultimately, you have somebody that's great at business, maybe great at their family, but their health suffers. When their health suffers, it will take priority over the other two things. It will cost more than the other two things. It always does. It always costs more for sickness, and it takes more from you. And we say to people like this, I'll look at the guy sometimes and say, you would die for your family, right? Oh yeah, man, I would die for my kids, die for my wife. Then I pause and I will cautiously but purposely take a moment or so, and I said, listen to me, I have another question for you. If you will die for them, will you live for them? Dude. And man, you could just like sense the wow moment, and it's really cool because they'll begin to think about that and they'll say, what do you mean? Will you make the decision to not eat garbage, to not shorten your life? And if it gets, sometimes if I have a good enough relationship with them, I will say, will you work hard to not become the person, that spouse or significant other that has to change your diapers for 10 years? Mm-hmm. And that's a big statement. And they're like, yes. And if I get them there, then let's go to work. And they're like, man, that's my job. That's what I do. That's just what I do. And that's part of who I am.
It's amazing when you can, like I said, read the room and understand the person where they are, build that trust with them, which starts with day one, I think. Then they're going to listen and act on your words because it should be their words. They didn't have them in their head right then. Didn't realize you're foretelling their future. If they go down one route, they'll be in the ground. Second route, they actually live and have grandkids and see the grandkids grow up and actually enjoy a healthy, long life. Amazing.
Yeah, I don't like the concept of life to have this reverse bell curve where you live, you have this peak earning years, and if it's last 10 years, they're just miserable, full of 2 Dixie cups full of medications. You don't even know how they interact for morning and night. Somebody changing you, somebody changing your bedpan. You can't get up out of your chair and everybody's brought to you and they don't care about you. I'm like this, man. I want to live my life. I'm going to be born, live my life to the fullest extent, have a great health span, and then change addresses. Just like that.
That's it. But I had one nurse tell me, he tells sometimes his patients that are kind of stubborn, he goes, you can change your lifestyle or you can spend the rest of your life living in a nursing home, watching bad daytime TV, and waiting for the nurse to change your bedpan.
Oh, that's miserable to think about,
I don't think anyone goes, yeah, I like that. No, you don't. No, you don't.
No, and if people don't do that and they don't want it, they won't stay around. They just will not keep coming back, and that's okay. But even if they come back and don't do what you ask them to do or all of it, if they keep coming back, there's a curiosity there that keeps them coming back. You keep loving them where they are, and if they change, I don't have the power to change anybody, but all I can do is sort of show people the roadmap, to health and, lead them that way, but they still have to do the walking on their own.
And part of your roadmap too, I see you offer supplements, educational books, things like that. How is that? And just to be, I guess, a devil's advocate, how are your supplements and education material different than someone that's selling them on Amazon or at the grocery store?
That's interesting. Like supplements with me, I'm not loyal to any company. I won't, even if all those vendors out there get a little bit hacked off at me, but I won't. So we'll actually go to the lab and we'll tour that lab in the dirtiest part of the day. And I want to see on that label CGMP or the equivalent. I want to know that pre-production, they're quarantining products, testing them. During production, I want to know they're testing. Post-production, I want to know if it says it has this on the bottle. It better have it on the bottle for 2 years or more. I'm not buying it. Good. And I want the best out there. I do read the studies, and I realize studies are, a lot of them are just biased. A lot of them are misinterpreted. A lot of them are nothing more than association, not causation studies. I get all that. Good. But I also know that when we give them something, it's got to be something that I'm doing myself. If it's not, if I'm not willing to do it, why would I ask anybody else to do it? And I don't go cheap on those. I go effective.
It's amazing when, like you said, you put it's your reputation, correct?
Yes.
If you don't live by that, you're not going to practice for 2 years, let alone 15 years.
No, people trust us, and I think I'm not gonna. I don't desire, even this podcast. You know, I don't desire to say one word or do one thing that I'm ashamed of. You know, I want it to be right. I want it to be truth. I want it to be honorable, and I hope that the people that we deal with see, feel, and sense that.
It seems like a lot of work to do that. You know what I mean? To try to be fake, or like, I did this, like, how much work? Just be yourself.
Man, I tried years ago, you know, my previous career of law enforcement, you know, you try not to care so much. And I wasn't very good at that. I wasn't, you know, because I would, you know, wear my heart in my shirt sleeve, and I would cry at things I saw, and it would bother me. Then sometimes things made me mad. And I would try to suppress both sides of that emotional spectrum. And I realized that that's a bad idea, that I'm not being me. And I realized that if I can just be me and do what I'm called to do, and do it in a way that is honorable, like I stated, I think people see that. And I think everybody in their life has a calling to do something, you know, and my wife and I are doing what we're called to do, and you're doing what you're called to do. And I think if we all do that, I think, you know, things work out okay, pretty well.
And you're happy, and you're healthy, and you enjoy going to work every day.
Yeah, and it is a heavy burden, you know. It's a big old heavy burden to carry that stuff, and it's difficult. You just you do it because you can't not do it.
Exactly. And tell me a couple success stories you've had recently with your clients that have had, for example, a big struggle and where they are now.
I can think of.
That's one of the good stuff.
Yeah, there was a guy that was here, and this has been probably 4 months ago. He comes in and he's on the classic metformin. He's got blood sugar issues, and his hemoglobin A1C was like 8 something. He was trying to get under 7, and he was happy about that. I'm like, this is wrong. Blood pressure medication. So he went all in. Man, he was tired and frustrated, but he went all in, Tony. And when he went in, it's funny. A couple months went by, and I saw him in the lobby out there, because we have a machine out there that measures body fat percentage, and I don't want him on the scale, man. I'm like, throw the scale away, stop it. I want your percent body fat here.
Yeah, good.
So he comes in, he goes, hey, Mark, how's it going? I said, hey, how are you? He goes, well, I guess I'm doing okay. I just got this. And so it was a report. In 2 months, he had lost 6% body fat, right? His muscle went up and his fat had gone down, whatever that amount was. And I said, well, how's every other thing going? He goes, well, I haven't really needed my metformin and my blood pressure medication. I think I was pushing it too low, so I had to stop that. And I paused, and I said, his name is David. I said, do you understand, David, what you just told me? You put your life and your body and your whole being into a place that's walking in the place it's supposed to be. This is normal. And he was like, wow. And it just hit him. And now he can't stop telling people about what he's achieved. And I think it's pretty funny, because he's always talking about himself. Another one comes in, and this has been a couple years back, that strikes me, because real powerful realtor lady, has a big old business and running crazy, stressed, not sleeping. Ends up with breast cancer that's metastasized into the lymph glands. And obviously she's very distraught over this and doesn't want to go down that conventional pathway of burn it, cut it, poison it. And okay, you know, that's their choice. We'll support them either way. So we went all in and came at this with peptides and some other things like that, and obviously heavy, hardcore nutrition. Time goes on, a year goes by, goes back, PET scan, nothing, no metastasis at all. Eventually it goes away, and they say, well, we don't know what happened, but it's in remission. And she said, I know what happened. I'm cured. And so you're talking about a year and a half later, and I was like, wow. You know, and now she's just living her life again. And, you know, my concern with even that one is to get back and start doing the things that they didn't. But so far, so good.
Have you seen with success? 15 years again, 15 years. Has your job gotten easier the last, say, 5 years or so? because you've been in practice so long where now it's coming back to, like you mentioned, when someone refers somebody in, you know that person, what they've gone through, they've told a story for the next patient. Has it made your job easier?
It's made the patient acquisition and community growth easier. It has grown the community spirit. I'm like, whatever person we deal with, if we do our job right again, they have an impact in the little parts of the world, whether it be in California, whether it be in Tennessee, whether it be in Florida, it doesn't matter. And they start telling this story, and eventually they'll have an impact on their family and their community and their friends. And I think it's probably made it easier like that on us because we don't have to work to have people interested. I think the only thing that I think about a lot is that responsibility gets bigger as the community gets bigger. And I do not want to let them down. I mean, I take that personally. I just don't. I want to be in my best health, not just for my wife, but for them, because I think they deserve that. They came to us for leadership. They came to us for teaching. They came to us for guidance, and we're going to give it to them. And I got to keep giving it to them.
It's almost they become part of your family, maybe a health family, if you want to call it that, where you want to make sure them, their kids, their grandkids, their cousins, anyone in town too, they want to come and have the same experience for the next person. So you want to be excellent for everyone. Doesn't matter if it's 8 in the morning, your first patient, or your last patient 5 o'clock at night, or a Friday afternoon.
That's right. You're going to give them everything you got, and the heart's got to be in it. And that's probably why I get up in the morning and I'll spend a little bit of time in quiet meditative prayer, and go to the gym, so I get my mind and spirit prepared for what I'm going to do. And at the end of the day, I spend a little time with my wife, and then both of us are tired, and we are not extroverts, although we have to be. In a lot of arenas, we're introverts, and so we'll read books and just chill out. Won't really turn on the TV much. So it's a journey, but you got to be prepared for that because people need that.
Well, I think, like you mentioned too, we have to be ready physically and mentally as healthcare practitioners to be there for our patients.
We do, without question. If I don't look the part, be the part, am the part, why would anybody listen to me at all? I wouldn't. I just say, why would you listen to a clinician or practitioner that, that's over there sipping on a Coke and maybe they got donuts in the lobby? Man, that's a bad place. Get out.
And for me too, I work out in the morning. But I just got, unlike yourself, because I know you have great shoulders right there. I just got the implants. I just figured that's easier.
Well, I mean, I've been at this a long time, and I figured I've been working out probably every day, more or less, for like the last probably 40 some odd years. That's a long time. And
you have to, though. You have to physically and mentally get yourself healthy, but also get yourself ready for the day.
It's probably like medicine, I suppose. Yeah, it's an antidepressant, I suppose, all of those things. And, perhaps it's an addiction, I guess, but I'd rather have those type of addictions to preparation, as you mentioned, than I would have addictions to chaos.
Well, like you said earlier, you want to live for your family, live for your patient, live for your life, not waiting to die and let someone bury you.
Man, we talk about even the concept of diet along the time. I don't even like that term diet, because you take the T off, what do you got? Die, and so I want to live it, man. I don't want to let anyone down. I want to do my best every day with every word and every moment. At the end of the day, I don't want to have regrets. Don't want to look back and go, I should have done this. I could have done this, but I didn't. No woulda and no couldas.
No. And again, thank you for the ebook, Health, Hope, and Freedom, for my audience. That's going to be at the link at the very bottom too for anyone listening also and watching. Free ebook for one. Give me an email. You're good to go. I went through a little bit. Explain the ebook. Explain how it's going to help someone kind of change their mindset or change their attitude about stuff.
We kind of look at 4 aspects of life. All of us are not just physical. We're physical, emotional, spiritual, intellectual. And even financially, you can look at that too. But we talk about physical, emotional, intellectual, and then spiritual in there. And then we talk about the 7 aspects of 8 aspects of what we do, which is nutrition, sleep, stress management, movement. We talk a little bit about, hormones and peptides and things like that, and genetics that we do as well. But I think people that get that ebook are going to have some real practical applications without ever call on our office. They're going to be able to put exactly what's in there, and their life's going to get better. That's a start for anybody out there, anywhere. And whether you're advanced in this whole lifestyle journey or health place you go, whatever, whether you're not, there's something in there for you.
It's almost like when I went through it too, like I said, the different pillars and levels of aspects of health. Almost, I'm going to say, if you can, look at, if it was me reading the ebook, is take a little notepad and go, which ones am I struggling with now? How do I make those better over time so my overall life gets better, my overall health gets better, my whole mindset gets better too?
I agree. There's one section in there I think is pretty impacting. It was kind of one that really hit me like a lead ball right in my chest. You know, the whole idea of the emotional health aspects where we talk about the frauds, you know, fear, resentment, anger, unforgiveness, disappointment, shame. I mean, when we live in those areas, man, it affects all parts of our life. And so people can look at that, well, am I scared of anything? What am I ashamed of? And who have I not forgiven? There's something in there. And honestly, you know, even though we wrote that ebook, you know, the point being, it is beneficial for every single person.
It's amazing. We all have something we struggle with.
Yes.
We may say it publicly or privately, whatever it is too. How do we take that out of our life so now that everything in our life seems easier, lighter? We don't have that wakes up in the night and we have that bad dream, whatever it might be. So it's almost like I like that, the fraud portion, because it did help me go, that's something people don't talk about. So just, if you can, just get the ebook for that sense, look at the frauds and see what you might relate to, that you can actually, if you want to forgive and also move on to your life. And sometimes, as you know, forget someone may not forgive us back. It may not forgive. It doesn't matter. You've done your part. Don't hold that. And when I say don't hold that regret, I have so many patients that have had a loss to their family. They should have done this, and this. You've done what you can.
Yes.
You know, and then they hold it forever. So now their overall health dissipates. Now I go, you got to let that go.
Yeah. Let it go and move on. Sometimes we're chained to our past, which prevents us from experiencing our future.
No. And I apologize. I went over about probably 15 minutes or so. Anything we missed that you wanted to bring up, Dr. Mark?
No, man, I just appreciate the time today. Certainly in a good conversation, I knew it would be. And ultimately, my encouragement for everyone out there is, you know, no matter where you are, you know, don't live in the misery of yesterday, and don't start something tomorrow that you can start today. I mean, yesterday is the past. It's history. You can't change it. Tomorrow is a mystery. I can't tell you what that's going to hold. But today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. And I hope people embrace that and just move forward and take this whole discussion today and let it just be like jet fuel to propel them to a higher place.
Every morning I read a little saying or clips from the book Power of Now.
Oh yeah.
Just stay in the present. Stay in the present. You know, at that point you can learn a lot and feel a lot, I think, better physically, mentally when you stay in the present.
That's a great statement there. Yeah.
In the show notes, we have links to the ebook, obviously. Connect to their website, to their TV, their YouTube. Learn information. Learn how to keep yourself healthy. It's your job, not my job or Dr. Mark's. Get yourself healthy. If you're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, see him directly or go to his books and supplements. Get yourself healthy there. So anything else, Dr. Mike or Dr. Mark? Sorry.
No, I'm grateful, man. Thank you so much for just allowing me the opportunity today.
Okay, quick 5-second hold with a smile, because you smile well, for the thumbnail. And we're out. Thanks for watching, my friends. Appreciate it.